A leak for Game Freak's next 5 Pokemon games has come out, and a lot of people are taking this as absolute gospel, as absolute fact. However, I think there's a lot of room. I think this list is probably 20%, 30% accurate. There's a lot of items on here that probably will never see the light of day or will be changed incredibly. But what I want to talk about in this video are all of the things that are just not on this list because they're not being developed by Game Freak, because they are a third-party company, because they are being developed by the Pokemon Works, which is a new company, a new branch set up by ILCA workers, as well as some Game Freak staff. ILCA is the company that worked and developed Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, those faithful remakes. So what I'm gonna talk about 3 things today. There's 3 possibilities for new Pokemon games that we could see in the next couple years, as we enter Generation 10. Literally in February, I'm recording this in November. In February, we are gonna see the start of the 10th generation. It's gonna be the 30th year anniversary of Pokemon. I'm expecting a lot of celebration around the last 30 years around the Pokemon franchise. And right now, in terms of celebration, Generation 9 has been nothing but, not technically. Okay, I'm going to get flamed in the comments. Technically, performance has been horrible in Generation 9, right? Like on a technical aspect, the games that we've received, Scarlet and Violet, the DLC, Legends EA, pretty controversial. But I think the concepts within those games, and as far as I'm concerned, the world building, the Pokemon, the characters, pretty they're pushing limits, and they're moving towards the future. And what I'm trying to say is that there's an opportunity for Game Freak to go back and to celebrate what has come before and to bring those things to the forefront to make a profit, because this old man's going to buy some of these games or wants to buy some of these games. So I got 3 things to talk about today. There's 3 possibilities for types of Pokemon games we can get. Pokemon ports. That's easy. HD remasters. A little bit of a curveball. That's what we normally see with a lot of other franchises. And then we have the wild card. Maybe we can call these like a true classic remake, right? Maybe in this situation, developed by a third party. But these would be classic remakes. I don't want to use the term faithful remake because that gives people a lot of PTSD. Thinking about BDSP, but a classic remake. Think about it like that. So let's start with ports. Huge opportunity as we enter the 30th year anniversary. Give us some ports. We've seen this before. On the 3DS, red, blue, yellow, gold, silver, crystal, even green version. Were all they were ported onto the eShop, onto the virtual console for the 3DS. I had all these games. I still have all these games, and they're so great. Not only because they make these titles accessible, and they were super fun to do, like all the classic glitches to get Mew, etc. But there was also like a lot of really cool events put into these games, right? Like in yellow version, you could do the surfing Pikachu minigame, which I didn't even think you could do. I guess there weren't that many events in red, blue, and yellow, but in gold and silver, you could actually get, for the first time, I guess crystal version for the comments, crystal version, international, for the first time, they unlocked for these ports, the Ilex Forest, the GS Ball side quest event, right? You could get Celebi. This was the first time you could ever do it outside of Japan, and that was a blast. And honestly, it's actually been too long since I've even played that. I should pick up my virtual console and replay that again. That would be pretty cool. But what this means to me is that if we are going to get new ports in this new Generation 10 era, right, for the 30th year anniversary, yes, I want to get, I think Gens 1 and 2 is a shoo-in that is so easy. So easy to do. We're far enough from Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. It's still been so long since a Johto game, like a new Johto game, has come out. Just, that's a super easy layup. But I also think we could get I also think we can get the Generation 3 games. Ruby Sapphire, Fire Red, Leaf Green, Emerald version. That would be so easy to do. And I've talked about this ad nauseum. There are amazing events and unlockables that are just like inaccessible. Even if you have the cartridges, I have the cartridges. I play these games. I can't get these events. There is the whole e-reader functionality. You can even see, actually, that's not the e-reader, but there was like this device where you could swipe purchasable cards back in the 2000s and unlock berries and trainer battles. There might even have been like eggs that you could acquire, or like new Pokemon you can acquire. I might be making up those last two things, but there was a bunch of content hidden behind those e-readers. And then if nothing else, there are a ton of legendary events, Pokemon, that you can get at the end of these games, or that you can actually no longer get at the end of these games, but that are built into the code if you were to emulate these games and put in some cheats. You can get Mew at the faraway island. You can get Deoxys. These are things that just are, as far as I'm concerned, completely inaccessible. And I think if they brought these games back to the Switch 2, Ruby Sapphire, Emerald, even Fire Red and Leaf Green could functionally be a little bit closer to a remake, where a remake can add more content. There's content in these games that could be resurrected. And then I didn't even say it before, but if nothing else, if these games get ported, guess what? Now you can take these Pokemon, your whole team, you can bring them into Pokemon Home effortlessly, and that could even tie into Pokemon Champions, or whatever. Then you can bring those Pokemon into your whatever the recent game is, and that's a lot of fun, and that's important to me, and I do talk about that in other videos. But I think, if nothing else, my expectations for Generation 10, if we're getting ports, Gens 1, 2, and 3, easy, shoo-in. It gets a little trickier when we talk about Generation 4 and 5, just the DS games. And I don't actually think this is that tricky, because there have been patents recently, actually, in this last year. New patents have surfaced. There's details. There's images outlining new products for the Switch 2 officially, that would give the Switch 2 a second screen, essentially. And I'm holding my breath. I'm holding my breath, because I think, to me, what that means is we're going to start getting not only DS games and DS ports, but I think there's an opportunity, and this kind of segues us into point 2. I think we could actually get HD remasters, right? Pokemon X and Y, Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire, Sun and Moon, Ultra Sun and Moon, all the 3DS games, right? And listen, I'm saying a lot of games right now. I'm basically outlining every single Pokemon game that's ever existed. And if I'm telling you the truth, I don't believe we're going to... I would love to be wrong. I don't believe we're going to be getting all of these games ported in the next, 2 years. That makes no sense. If anything, they're going to space these out, right? I mean, even Generations 1 and 2, when they were brought onto the Virtual Console, those were even spaced out, they were a year apart. And even the third version, Yellow version and Crystal version, those were spaced out from the original releases. So if anything, we're going to see, if we were to get all these games, it would be over the next 5, it would be over the lifespan of the Switch 2. And I guess for some more context, I think that I have a lot of really fond memories playing these Switch games. I'm playing these Pokemon games on my 3DS, because my 3DS system could also play DS games, and I also had the Virtual Console games. So I had generations. I could play through pretty much every single Pokemon generation, right? I could play through Generation 1 and 2 with the Virtual Console, Generation 3 with the ORAS remakes, the Hoenn region through the ORAS remakes. I could play through the Generation 4, 5, 6, and 7. I played through it all. It was so much fun. It was a Pokemon machine, and I would love to see the Switch 2 become that again, is kind of what I'm saying, right? But the beauty, okay, this is so nice. I see these all the time online. 3D, HD, basically HD mods of these 3DS games look absolutely stunning. And one of my pipe dreams, or kind of like one of my like pipe wishes, just like something that I thought would have been really, really fun and pretty. It didn't even seem that ridiculous. It didn't happen, but it didn't seem that ridiculous. Is to accompany Legends EA, we could have got like an HD X and Y port essentially, and that's what these remasters really are. So many other game systems or video game franchises will they'll port games and just upscale them to HD and charge $60. I'm not saying charge $60, but I'm just saying, like, I would be more than happy with a $30 HD port or HD remaster of X and Y, Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire, Sun and Moon. Any of these 3DS games look so good. I guess I should probably pull up some images so you guys can see. HD, Sun and Moon, Pokemon gameplay. Hold on. There's not a ton right here. Yeah, there's some people on YouTube who have uploaded gameplay footage. It's tough to say, but like, I don't know. I just think these games look so good, and if you make them HD, they're going to be more accessible. They'll now immediately be connected to Pokemon Home. Again, I'm happy to play. I'm happy to pay the money. These games will actually run faster, as we've seen. Like a lot of these 3DS games, I wonder if they are so slow because they are on a DS, because they're on a handheld like system. I've been playing a lot of these games emulated on a third-party console, and they run so fast. They're so nice. They are so nice. Oh, no, and what I was going to say is I'm playing Scarlet and Violet on my Switch 2, and that game is the fastest I've ever seen. It's like, it fundamentally changes the experience of Scarlet and Violet. That, from my perspective, that's how it feels. But to get us back on track, I think that is absolutely a possibility. Again, all I've really talked about right here are ports. I think these HD remasters would take a third-party team, but that can absolutely be done. And truthfully, BDSP kind of feels like that. BDSP, Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, kind of feels like a HD remaster because it is so faithful. They called it a faithful remake, but it is so faithful. There are other additional elements, but I don't think BDSP, the biggest problem, the biggest sin that this game committed was not actually learning the lessons from Pokemon Platinum. All the fixes that Pokemon Platinum made to Diamond and Pearl were not actually brought over into these remakes, so you're left with a bad base game being copied in a soulless art style. And honestly, I don't even know if I believe that. I actually don't even believe that the chibis are soulless. I think I might do a separate video about that later, about why I actually enjoy. And I think there's a lot of potential in the faithful remake, in the Ilka style, BDSP. I'm actually not that. I've never really been against BDSP in theory. The biggest problem is that it's a Generation 4 game. I mean, the execution is also part of the problem, but I digress. And I guess we're kind of already here. The number 3 is the Wildcard True Classic 3D, third-party remake. And I guess my stance on this is that as we move further and further into these 3D Pokemon games, right? Especially with Legends EA, it's never felt more true than with Legends EA, right? Legends EA has a completely new battle system. It is, completely free roaming. You have ultimate control of the camera. And while I think Generation 10 is going to hold on to some of the turn-based and classic aspects of these legacy Pokemon games, I do think Generation 10 is going to continue to push us further away from the classic style. And what that does is create a market. It creates a need, right? A gap for new Pokemon games that are as classic as they come. There is always buzz when there is a new Pokemon ROM hack or a new Pokemon port. Not a port, I guess like a mod, right? People get really excited to see new Pokemon, to experience new Pokemon regions and playthroughs, worlds, in whether it be a different art style or really just something really classic, whether it's like a Generation 3 or 4 or 5 engine. There's a hunger. There's a community of people who want these classic Pokemon games. And I think BDSP failed in so many ways, but the top-down, it does not even need to be pixel art, but the top-down overworld of that BDSP gave us, right? The faithful top-down Pokemon world experience. I think there's an opportunity for us to either get really, really close remakes. I kind of said X and Y and ORAS. That would more be like an HD remaster. That would be more like a remaster. But I think there's an opportunity for the Johto and Kanto games, right? Or maybe even the Generation 5 games to get some sort of faithful remake game. And I think what immediately would fix BDSP is that they actually added new story elements, is that if they actually added new Pokemon, if they actually connected the game, right, the Generation 4 games, and brought it up to the canon, or had it connect to modern storylines, right? I think when it comes to a Pokemon remake, that's what we're looking for, right? Heart Gold Soul Silver felt so good because you could take your Magneton and evolve it into a Magnezone. You could get a Piloswine and actually evolve it into a Mamoswine. All those Generation 2 Pokemon, Generation 1 Pokemon that felt underbaked in the original Johto games could now reach their modern potential, right, for the time in Generation 4. The same thing goes for the Gen 3 remakes or the, Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Same thing goes for that. You could get Gallade, right? You could get, I don't even know. Whatever Pokemon weren't available in Generation 3 are now available in Generation 6 with this hoeing experience. That's what I'm looking for. I think, honestly, they could provide a faithful remake similar to Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, to any other classic Pokemon game, Gens 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and maybe even 6, right? Because 6, I honestly think X and Y don't look too dissimilar to like BDSP. They're both top-down, right? And so what I'm saying is that there's an opportunity to get some of these classic games on a Switch 2, but with either an altered story, a continued story, new Pokemon forms. Like, can you imagine a Generation 9 character showing up in a Generation 5 remake? Right? Like, imagine if you're playing through, I mean, okay, and then if you want to take this idea to the furthest extension, and I might do a separate video because this one's getting kind of long. The most ambitious idea, I'll say that, the most ambitious idea in this format, and I often think about this, and I try to illustrate it on the podcast or do friends, and I feel like people are maybe not, they don't have the context of me sitting on this, me ruminating about this for 2 years to, it doesn't click for them, and it might not. Let me know if you know what I'm talking about. Let me know if any of this makes sense. But, I could see a future where Ilka produces a Black 3, White 3. There are so many rumors about a Black and White remake, which at this point I don't believe. But for example, I think there's a world where Pokemon Works, that new company by Game Freak and Ilka employees, right? They're working on something. What are they working on? We don't know. And what they could be working on is a Black 3, White 3. Or it's a Black and White remake that adds elements of Black 2 and White 2. Like maybe the new regions and new characters. And then there's a twist ending. There's a twist ending at the end where all of a sudden we resurrect. The dogs are doing something. There's a twist ending. There's a twist ending where I'm thinking there's someone at the door now, but there's not. Where there's a twist ending and we meet the ultimate dragon. Something like that, right? Something crazy. Something that something. All I'm asking for is a new type of game that can be very close to the original. Because at the end of the day, I'm just trying to get these games on my Switch too, right? I'm just trying to get these games to be back into the zeitgeist, right? And that's what Pokemon wants. Like the company, TPCI wants that. They want these Pokemon games to be back in the zeitgeist, so fans are talking about them, and so obviously people can buy merch and plush, and they can make new cards. Like there's an alignment between the company and me, a fan. I'll be happy if you port these games. I'll be happy. That's what I think. I think there's just an incredible amount of possibility. Even when it comes to these like phoned in games, everything that I've outlined here is a better experience than what I have now on cart. Every single experience. And I guess I'll make another video about this. I really will. But like the idea that I thought of the other day, right? Black 3, White 3, easy to think of. But what I was also thinking about is like, okay, we were playing Legends EA, right? We're all playing Legends EA. And obviously, my mind went to a year ago. I'm like, give us an HD remaster of X and Y. But now I'm scratching my chin, or scratching my head, and I'm thinking, where is all the Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire representation? Like, what are we doing? Where is this? Why is no one talking about Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire? That is the game that's actually established all of this lore. We have Zinnia, we have the Draconids, Deoxys, Rayquaza was the first. Like, where is all this? We might get some of this in the Mega Dimension DLC. We might. I don't know. But I'm like, why are these games not being brought to the forefront? Why are these games not accessible? Listen, if they randomly decided to port some of the like X and Y and ORAS, and they just forgot about Red, Blue, and Yellow, because the more I think about it, I don't think people want to play Red, Blue, and Yellow. I don't think people want to play Gold and Silver. I think, if anything, they could port. But I'm like, why would you port Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald when ORAS is right here? That actually connects to Mega Evolution. Like, give us all the games. Mega Fever is up here. Give us all the games that have to do with Mega Evolution. And what I'm saying is, if these are, I'm not saying a port. I mean, I am saying a port. But what the opportunity is, they could give us the HD remake or the HD remaster. It's the same game. We've got 2 screens. That could be possible on a Switch 2. And then you add a couple new things. That's it. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Add a character. Add one character. Add one character from... Have this new Karina show up in an ORAS. You know what I'm saying? Just like add one little thing. I don't think this is hard to do. I don't think. Let me know what you guys think. This went way too long. Originally I was gonna spend 20 minutes talking about these third-party remake games. Like where the heck is Johto? Where the heck is these Generation 5 games? And I kind of got off track, so maybe I'll make another video. But love you guys. Appreciate you. Subscribe if you're new. This has been a blast. I'm having so much fun making these videos.